What is that smell? I am definitely getting a hint of a deal. Oh wait, it's more than a hint. Yeah, these are the best deals, and not just this season, but all year long. In all seriousness, the smartest shoppers know that you get the brands you love with the most savings and cash back with Rakuten. And I know I'm certainly interested in sniffing out those deals. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Urban Outfitters, Petco, even Expedia, and getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cashback through PayPal or check. Smells like a perfect deal to me. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Have you heard of Olivia, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ+ women? You know what they say, life is short and the world is wide. And when you're a lesbian or LGBTQ+ woman, you want to be able to go on vacation, have some fun, feel safe, and be yourself. Olivia Travel creates full takeovers of their cruise, resort, riverboat, and adventure vacations so you can kiss who you want to kiss without a care in the world in your own safe space. Olivia also provides the entertainment, bringing comedians and musicians from within your community. Traveling by yourself? No problem. Olivia has a robust solos program so you can travel alone, together. Single, coupled up, or in a group, you'll meet amazing LGBTQ+ women who come from all walks of life, yet have so much in common. Join the thousands of Olivians who travel to bucket list destinations all over the world. It's life-changing to be in the majority on your own vacation. Discover Olivia for yourself at olivia.com today.
Lez Hang Out. Lez Hang Out. And let's talk about what Lezin's about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Lez Hang Out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lez Hang Out, the podcast that's forever young. I want to be forever young.
Yes.
Just like you and I, Ellie.
Forever young. You really wanted to throw this one to me right
did.
The day after my birthday.
I've done that. From the West Coast, I'm Leigh Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom is a place where you can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. And in season 8, we are continuing to release our bonus episodes. Our next episode is on Amelia Perez. Whew, it was a time. You can listen to that at bit.ly/lespatreon. It is super important for us to be supported by you. Patreon is our biggest funder of the show. So if you love the show and you want us to keep making it, please, please, please join our Patreon. And we will continue to give you bonus episodes.
Also, we know we've been telling you that details would be coming up, so we decided to push our trip to France to next year because the feedback from so many people was that they wanted to come and needed more time to save up and needed more time to plan and take time off work, things like that. So we are re-announcing, starting today, our Lez Hang Out gay trip to Paris and Bordeaux. You can join us March 25th to March 31st in 2026. If you want to sign up, we are going to have limited spots. The first 5 people to sign up get a $250 discount on their trip. And you can sign up at bit.ly/LesDoFrance. We are going to have the best time. We want to see all of you there. So sign up now because those spots might fill up fast.
In the greater Les universe, Chapel, gives and gives and gives to the lesbian community. Finally, The Giver has been released.
Amazing.
What a bop. Been loving that song since she debuted it on SNL. Obviously, the content for it has been amazing, and the song itself just slaps. So, ready for more Chapel content for sure.
Also, in the greater Les universe, there is a new queer dating show coming. It is called U-Hauled, Y-O-U, U-Hauled, and it is a new lesbian dating experiment reality show where couples apparently are just sort of like moving straight in together.
And then at the end, they decide if they want to move in or move on.
It looks like it's gonna be messy as fuck. And, listen, we love some trashy reality TV, right?
Give it to me. Put it in my veins, please. I
Incredible.
love lesbian reality TV. Also, this is personal to me because I just recently got back from Nashville and played a gig at the Lipstick Lounge. But it's super exciting because, there's not that many lesbian bars in the country. And the Lipstick Lounge is actually expanding. There's so many people coming to the Lipstick Lounge that they need more space. And that makes me really happy. So they're building an extension to the Lipstick Lounge called Chapstick, which is going to be a lesbian sports bar attached to the Lipstick Lounge, which is going to be like karaoke and live music. So any kind of gay in Nashville now has a place at the Lipstick Lounge. There's also at the Lipstick Lounge a place upstairs called Upper Lip, which is a cigar lounge. Like, I am not a cigar fan, but like the puns are punning hard, and I'm obsessed. Yes.
Yeah. Incredible.
That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh.
Thanks, Ellie and Leigh. We are so excited to bring you episode 15 of season 8, Aging Gayfully.
Because I am aging.
Are you, Ellie?
I am aging so gayfully, Leigh.
As someone who recently aged, was it gayful?
It did feel quite gayful. I don't know if like the aging was gayful or just like every day I'm gayful. But yesterday I felt gayful.
Good.
Doesn't even sound like a word anymore.
Do you feel more gay today than you were?
Yes.
Are you gayer at 33 than you were at 32?
I think so. When like people are like, oh, like aging like a fine wine. It's like I'm gaying up like a fine wine. The older I get, the gayer I get. Can you imagine if I did I did the opposite? Like, oh my gosh, this is the sort of tangent, but me and Bailey have been talking about, when you just like talk about hypotheticals, like we're not actually talking about being open, but we're like, if we were to be open, like if this is a thing, whatever. And I was like, well, like, how would you feel if like all of a sudden, like I woke up and I was like, you know what? I've like never slept with a man. And so like, I'm just curious. Like, would you feel some type of way about that? Like, would you be jealous?
Yeah.
Like, how, like, let's talk through this imaginary scenario. And she's like, I would laugh. I would say go for it because I would be like so intrigued to see like what would happen.
Here's my immediate response to you saying, would you feel some type of way about that? Would you feel some type of way about that, Ellie?
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. If I woke up tomorrow and was like, I feel like I really want to sleep with a man, I'd be like, did I have a stroke?
Yeah.
So, but I think it would be funny if I started aging straightfully. Like all of a sudden I was just like, you know what? I want a heteronormative life.
I don't know how we got here in this episode 2 minutes in.
Fast. Yeah.
But can I tell you quite literally? Because like, I feel like I have times, I think I just have the type of brain that, I mean, again, maybe this is just the anxiety practiced brain of constantly being like, play out situations, right?
Yeah. That might be mine too, where I'm like, let me play this scenario out. Yeah.
Let me play this out. I feel like my brain is the type of brain that always is like, oh, what if? Right? Like, what if? So, and that can be for anything. Like, you'll see a thing with someone skydiving, and you're like, what if I went skydiving? Mm-hmm. What would that be like? How do I think I would react? What would that look like? Would I be scared? Would I be able to, like, right? So, same thing. It's like sometimes, because Kelsey and I have this conversation a lot these days, where you just...
About you waking up tomorrow and wanting to sleep with a man?
All the time, yeah. Just endless conversations about it. No, it's just what we do a lot these days, and I know I've said this before on the show, but it's so true, is that we, as soon as you have children, you tend to exist in very heteronormative spaces, and it is okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go on such a big tangent right off the bat, and I don't know how, we're just here and we're living in the moment. Okay. So we just went, the girls had a week off school. We went on like a little mini vacation where we just sort of like drove up the 101 on the way back from her parents, and we stopped in like Pismo Beach for a few days, whatever. So, but we were staying at this hotel that I found sort of recommended as being like great for families. And so there were a ton of families there. And there were 2 incidents that happened while we were there that, like, again, the number of times in our life where we're just like, oh my God, thank you for not being a man. One of them was that we were like at the pool and there was this family and it was like the two parents and they had 5 children and we were like, sweet God, that's a lot of kids. And we were watching them, and you know when you're just watching, I don't know if you've ever done this, but you watch a family sometimes and you're just like, no, it's not parents and 5 children, it's a mom and 6 children.
Yes.
Right? Like that man was an extra child to take care of. And then the other one is we were at breakfast and there was a mom and her mom who were there with like a little toddler, like maybe 15-month-old, I'm gonna guess. And they're doing breakfast, they're getting the baby breakfast, they're doing all this stuff, and then they finish eating and they like get up and they're like, okay, like let's go wake up daddy. And I was like, I hate it. So anyways, the whole point of this story is that there are a number of times in the past like years since we've had children where you are constantly watching like straight couples where you're just like, wow, what would that be like how would you do, like, being married to a man? How? Why? What if? Right? And every single time that my brain even tries to do the, like, okay, but I guess, like, they're attracted to it. And then you try to play out the, like, what would it be like to want to sleep with a man? And my brain is always just like, even if I try to picture, like, what I would imagine to be the least sexually repulsive man to me, right? I still just can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like, I cannot make myself be like, yeah, that could be fun.
I know.
I just can't.
That's why she was like, I would laugh.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
There's no...
And she's correct.
Because she's correct. You're so right, though. It's like, yeah, it's like basically me saying, like, what if I woke up tomorrow and then, like, I wanted to have sex with an alien?
Honestly, I would take an alien first, I think.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, man. Let's just find out. You never know.
Or, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so far removed from reality. Like, or it's like, what if I met Jennifer Lawrence tomorrow? Like, it's so, like, far removed from reality that, like, you can't even have, like, a normal conversation.
What if Sabrina Carpenter went down on me?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Again. Sorry, I meant again.
Again, yeah, for the 5th time.
Yeah.
I gave her a few other chances to redeem herself.
Great.
Love
this. I love this for us.
But what are we gonna... Okay, so what's the point of this episode, Lee?
So we're talking about aging. So here's the thing. There were a couple things, like, first, you know, you just had your birthday. Mine's coming up in a few weeks. We're getting old, bitches. There's that happening. There's also just... I think I was thinking about some things because, as you know, I was just at TGIFM Slash, which is the sort of like fandom convention in Long Beach that happens every year, which if you all don't know about, you should look into it and come. It's a ton of fun. But it's also just, it's very fandom based. And so there's a lot of older gays who have been in fandom for a long time, newer gays who are in, you know, like the newer fandoms now. And so there's just been a lot of stuff going on in my brain lately that I was thinking about what gay aging is and how I don't know, I have a lot of things that I thought we could get into in terms of, like, what's different now, how are things different than when we were young, how were things when we were young different from, like, even further back, what is it like for gays, the new young gays coming out now and stuff. I just think there's a lot of different stuff, and some of it is just like being gay isn't a constant thing throughout time, obviously, right?
You're saying, like, being gay in whatever, like, social situation.
I
mean, because that's the thing, like, I feel like an interesting thing about us talking about it now is, like, I would have had a very different answer for you about, like, aging gayfully last year than I would
versus
today.
Now.
Yeah, which is
versus
because it's not linear. It's
dumpster fire that we're in now.
It's, like, not linear at all.
Yeah. But that's what I think is interesting, because the thing is there are ways, there's things that are, there's this constant change. You're sort of constantly existing in a society that is not the same. And also just this comes up all the time, right? That there are things now about being queer. There are queer identities that didn't exist when I came out, or at least didn't exist in terms of, you know, sort of common...
Or how we were discussing them. Like, maybe, like, certain terms in language, or, like, like, how widespread they were. Like, they existed in a small subsect of the, like, if you were queer, you understood it. If, like, maybe they use a different word for it.
Maybe, you know, but I think in the same way that, like, just our understanding of attraction, identity, presentation, like all of these things that sort of evolve and grow and adapt over time. But I don't think it's limited to just that. It's also just like, what does being queer mean? Like it's different. And so I thought it would be interesting as you and I continue to age despite our best efforts.
I know.
And despite our youthful visages.
I know, and just despite people thinking, I'm sorry, Kelsey, I always bring it up, thinking that you're Kelsey's child.
Okay. It's, you're not gonna win me any points here, Ellie. Wow.
All right, I'm cutting it out of the episode.
You won't.
No.
I know you won't. You always say you're going to, and you never cut anything.
I
Who are
know,
you kidding?
because then I listen to it again, and I'm like, you know what? Take the filter off.
Yeah, it's kind of like every time I'm like, do a cool production fill here.
Yeah, no,
and then
I
you're
won't.
like, I will, and then you don't. You just let me sound like a moron. It's
Exactly,
fine.
it's great.
I love that for
Okay, but I guess a question for you.
Is Ellie lazy, or does she just love, the comedy of it?
Both.
Remains to be answered.
Yeah, it's both. Okay, so I guess let's start at the very beginning, Leigh.
Of time.
The
Big Bang happened.
Yes.
A big gay lizard crawled out of the ocean.
What was it like for you being gay before you came out? Because I feel like there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, what did being gay look like to you before you knew you were gay yourself?
That's such a good question, because I don't even know that I fully remember, because I think the thing is, what's hard is so many of those years, so much of my brain space, I feel like was sort of subtly in the background occupied with being like, but not you. Right? That's not you, though. In a way that I don't think I was aware of, and shadowed everything, you know? Because I know I've told the story before, I think at some point on this show, about my first experience of just hearing the term gay. Because I was in 5th grade, so we had just moved back. We lived in France for 6 years. I had done everything up through 4th grade in France. I moved back. 5th grade was my first American public school experience. And so it was the first time that I heard kids, they were like teasing one of the boys in the class and being like, he's gay. And I did not know what it meant. And you're trying to ask in that little kid way of like, and that is, again, question mark? What? I totally know, but also define it again, please. And whatever was relayed to me, my understanding of it was just he has a crush on someone, and I didn't get the nuance of what they were trying to say. And so from there, like, I don't remember at what point the definition clicked. Right? It's sort of just this more gradual seeping in of
And you
knowledge.
didn't know anyone in your personal sphere who was gay?
No.
Wild.
Yeah, we didn't all have our gay aunt, Ellie. We weren't all like you.
No, well, because last night, we had a birthday dinner for me. Happy birthday to me. And
You old.
It was me, Bailey, my mom, my Auntie Meg, my gay Auntie Meg. And actually, you know what? This is sort of interesting because it's me, 33-year-old lesbian, right? Cousin, 24-year-old bisexual. Aunt, 64. I don't know how old she is. Somewhere in her 60s. Big old Les. Okay? And we are all talking about gay experiences.
Yes.
So, like, it was sort of timely that you brought up this episode.
Yeah.
Because last night we literally were talking about my Auntie Meg's experience. Like, she came out when she was 13.
Yeah.
Also, you know what's so funny?
Do that math quick. What year?
As much as I'm fighting against it, we should really have Meg on for an episode.
We should.
At some
She'd
point,
be so
everyone
crazy.
needs to hear from Auntie Meg.
She'd be so crazy.
But
We'll have her on for like a Patreon episode. Just Patreon sit down chat with Auntie Meg.
She's got a lot of gay shit.
The people clamor for Auntie Meg, Ellie.
Yes. But she came out, right? And she was like, you could not be gay.
Yeah.
She was obviously so gay that she personally could not be gay. She was like, the only reason I could be gay was because I had 4 older brothers and they would beat the shit out of anyone who gave me any shit for being gay. And also, as soon as she could, she moved to Provincetown. Where she was like in must have been in the 80s.
Yeah.
She's like, the only place you could be gay
Right.
was driving as far as possible to the tip of the Cape. Like all the
to
gays.
the ends of the world.
All the gays were hidden, right?
In the ocean.
Yes. And so
you can be gay in the Atlantic.
Yeah, you
only.
can be gay in the
in international waters, anything's legal.
possible. And obviously, like, there's so many more things that come along with that. Like, a lot of her friends died of AIDS. Like, like there was a lot of really fucked up things happening in the gay community. But I also find it fascinating because, like, she did, like, if I was Auntie Meg, I would have probably done the exact same thing that she did.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here. Surround myself with gay people.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only option for me as a gay in the 80s. But yeah, it's so interesting. And then also that also super colored my experience.
Yeah.
With the gay community, right? Where, like, I went to my first drag show when I was 10 years old. Like, last night also, oh my God, this is hilarious. So I'm like, I don't even know if I should share this story, but it's so funny to me.
Do it and then say you'll cut it and then don't
I won't cut it. Okay. So I'm like, because I also don't know how much of my family listens to these episodes. I'm like, I have no clue. So Bailey leaves to go to the bathroom. And I'm sure you would know this, Leigh, but to our listeners, me and Bailey are quite physically affectionate with each other. Like, I just am always holding her hand or kissing her or whatever. Auntie Meg, Bailey leaves. She goes, if I was pawing my girlfriend like you were, your mom would always give me shit, right? And then my mom goes, no, Meg, not all your girlfriends, just Deb.
The shade from mom.
And then my mom goes, all right, let me paint you a picture. We're in my kitchen, okay? She's like, so Deb's sitting on the washing machine and straddling Auntie Meg as she's standing there. And she's like, she's like, for context, this is my house, my mom's house. It's my house. She's like, you're 7 or 8. And I'm like, what are you doing in my kitchen? So yes, I was giving you shit about your girlfriend straddling you in my kitchen.
That's so
But
funny.
she's like, but it had nothing to do with the fact that you were gay. And I'm like, this is literally so funny to me.
I love your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's like, I didn't understand, Deb. She's like, all your other, but she was just like, she was too butch for me or something, my mom said. I'm like, oh my God.
That's so funny. But this is what I'm saying is, like, the time that Auntie Meg came out in, that was not the time that I came out in, right? Like, the time that I came out, this was early aughts. It was sort of, I feel like, on that, you just said something where you were like, Auntie Meg was like, you can't be gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can be gay out here only. And I feel like I came out in the time of, like, I get, like, you can be gay,
but, like,
right?
Don't shove it in our face.
Right. Like, if you really have to, you know, it was sort of that. Like, that's where I came out in, where it was like, I first joined our school's GSA, you know, where it was kind of like, it's okay, like, we support you, some of us, you know, that was kind of the mentality. And I feel like it's just, what's interesting to me is you and I talk a lot about now where we're at with our queerness and stuff, you know, where I currently, at the point I'm in my life, you meet a straight person and you're like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry, you know? And part of that I know is the societal shifts that have happened since we came out, but some of it also I know is me being at the age and experience and life that I've had so far. And I know that is not, I don't expect that every burgeoning queer youth coming out today is where you and I are at, you know, but it's totally, the contexts are so different. The understanding of everything is so different, and the conversations that happen are so different. And I find it all fascinating. I just think it's interesting, you know, like, there's just so much to dig into, where it's like Kelsey and I were watching an episode of Dirty Laundry on Dropout last night, which is from like last season. We're super behind on that show, but whatever. But we're watching this show, and it's just, here's a recent show. One of the guys on it was making fun of all the guests and being like, wow, a whole bunch of like loser virgins. And it sort of became this like running joke throughout the show that he was like, wow, I, not a loser virgin, see all these loser virgins here, right? And then they like made the joke a couple times. And then at one point, one of the guests was like, but also, I feel like we should clarify, because like, she was like, I know a bunch of like asexual people, and like some people don't feel like being a virgin is a bad thing. And like that's not what we're talking about here, And they were like, yeah, like a spiritually, like, they were trying to sort of like be clear about what they were and were not making fun of and stuff in a way that I was just like,
nobody would ever say that. When you're thinking about like
2001,
like the context of like, I've been watching like, I watched Legally Blonde the other day, but I'm like, Legally Blonde still fucking holds up. But even still, like a bunch of those like early 2000s movies that were like, yes, being a virgin is, you are a loser. We're not, like, nobody can be asexual. Like, what is asexual?
Because it didn't even exist.
Like, it existed.
When I came out,
it existed, but people didn't talk about it.
When I came out, it existed, but not in the sense that me at, 16 in my, like, kind of random suburb high school GSA would ever have heard about it, I mean, we didn't, like, you were sort of at the point where still accepting bisexuality was a bridge to cross for a lot of people,
I mean, to be fair, I feel like it still is.
Sure, yes. But it was worse. It was worse than it is even now still. But yeah, so I mean, there were identities and topics and concepts that just didn't even exist. I mean, I remember I was in college, I think, when there was a thing that someone had made that was just a little graphic that like went around online, and it was called the Genderbread Man. Did you ever see this? Okay. I remember, and I'm pretty sure I was in college when this came out. Yeah, look it up. See if it's still around.
I'm looking at it, yeah.
Okay. The Genderbread Man was a graphic that all it was trying to do was to separate the concepts of gender, sexuality, and gender presentation, I believe, right? And like that level of nuance and distinction in the conversation circa 2008, felt revolutionary. You were like, wow, look at all of these things that we as queer people can understand and carry into our conversations in the broader world. And I'm like, now I'm like, I feel like it's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, I can use this to talk to my 5-year-old.
Yes.
To start understanding gender,
But in college, you needed it.
Right,
yes.
right. Where you were like, oh my God, yeah, this like puts so many things kind of in clearer terms that like I didn't have clear words for up until now, And that's just crazy to me. Like, it is crazy to look at the difference between the kinds of things that we were talking about, knew how to talk about, like, were interested in talking about, compared to just the ease and fluency that I see so many teens and youths and young adults, whether they are gay or not these days, have, is crazy.
Yes.
Is crazy.
Yes. You are correct. Yes. The youths understand a lot of things that we never understood. And to be fair, a lot of people still don't understand.
Sure, but a lot of people don't. But
it's so different. It is so different. Yeah, I mean, I think like we're divided by like a few years, me and you, Lee, and I feel like it's like even just like the fact that like so much shit has happened in the past like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like so quickly. It's like to be like only a few years apart from people like could like drastically shift the kind of gay experience that you had.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, wait, this is actually so crazy. So crazy. Like sometimes this shit comes up with Bailey. You're not surprised I'm going to say this. So we were talking the other day. We watched, so we had an L Word watch party, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because Bailey is 26 and has never seen the L Word. I know.
Oh, I love this for her.
Oh, it's great.
what
right?
an experience to go on.
And
oh my
so
God.
we're like, it was funny actually, because we were like, we're watching the L Word for Bailey, right? But like every person in the room who's already seen the L Word was like, oh my God, like everyone's like freaking out about it. Bailey goes to the bathroom and they're like, pause it. Like, it's for Bailey. I was like, guys, it's clearly not for Bailey. I'm like, you guys are like loving this too much. Like, oh yeah, we have to rewatch it, like, for you. But my point is, so we're watching it and Bailey's like, oh, so like, are Bette and Tina married? And we were like,
oh God.
Yeah, and we're like, no, because this came out before gay marriage was legalized. And she's like, oh, I forgot. Like, I don't even remember when it got legalized, right? Like,
oh my God.
And right? Exactly. And you're like, right? So there's also like, okay, so like.
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny.
And okay, so DOMA got overturned in 2015, right? And if you think about it, right, like for me, that was the year after I graduated from college. I had a girlfriend, right? So it's also like there's a lot, like if you think about like 2015 as like a pivotal point in pretty much every gay person who's alive now, ish, right? In their trajectory. There were a lot of gay people who weren't even out then because they were literally like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So like there are a bunch of people younger than, honestly, like I guess younger than 26, right? Because like how old would Bailey have been there? Oh God.
In 2015? I mean, it was 10 years ago. So
yeah, she was 16, right?
Yeah.
So she's in high school and like I'm sure it's still registered with people, but like it doesn't register in the same way as it would register with me, as it would register with you, who in 2015,
4 years after I got married.
Yeah, who in 2015 was married, but only because you could have done it in Massachusetts. You got married in Massachusetts, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like only because you could have done it in one state.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like that. I mean, the repeal of DOMA itself is like a huge divide.
Yeah.
Between gay generations.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where I remember.
That's so funny. Were they married? It was like the early aughts.
Yes.
No.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
But think about like Bailey's 26. Like she obviously understood the implications of DOMA being repealed when it happened also. And there's people who are even younger than that.
Yeah.
Who like it really won't register to them.
No.
Right? Like they never experienced, like you experienced as an out gay person, a world before DOMA being repealed. Right?
I experienced as an out
married person.
Like that's why, I mean, it's so funny because I was having that conversation with one of my coworkers recently because so I have two coworkers, one of whom literally just got married to her partner because they as soon as the election results came in, like they've been engaged, but they sort of, you know, weren't in a rush to get married. And then as soon as the election happened, they were like, we need to do it now. What's the soonest date we can get at the courthouse to just like go and get papers signed? So she just did that. And then I have another coworker who he and his boyfriend have like same thing. They've been like talking about it and they're trying to decide, you know, like if they want to just go and do it in case. Mm-hmm. But I was having that conversation with him because same thing, like he's younger than I am. I don't remember exactly how old he is. And his boyfriend is also a little younger. I think he's in his like late 20s. And so we were having that conversation where I was trying to explain like, you know, oh yeah, like here's what would happen. Here's what's a mess about it. Cause I was like, Kelsey and I did years of that where like doing our taxes was a straight up nightmare because we were married at the state level. We weren't married at the federal level. Doing your taxes that way sucks. And so I was trying to like walk him through like what it kind of looks like. And like both him and then like some of my straight coworkers who were listening to the conversation were just like, wow.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's not that long ago, you know, that's where we were. That's where it was. That's what we were doing. And at the time that was still like, wow, we can get married.
Yeah.
in the state of Massachusetts, not the state of Rhode Island where we held our wedding, but that's okay.
Mhm.
As soon as you cross state lines, you can sign that paper, So, yeah, I mean, it's just a vastly different world. And the other thing that I think is so funny is that it's not just the queers for which that's the case. So I think let's take a hot break here. Let's come right back and keep digging into this.
Have you heard of Olivia, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ plus women? You know what they say, life is short and the world is wide. And when you're a lesbian or LGBTQ plus woman, you want to be able to go on vacation, have some fun, feel safe, and be yourself. Olivia Travel creates full takeovers of their cruise, resort, riverboat, and adventure vacations so you can kiss who you want to kiss without a care in the world in your own safe space. Olivia also provides the entertainment, bringing comedians and musicians from within your community. Traveling by yourself? No problem. Olivia has a robust solos program so you can travel alone, together. Single, coupled up, or in a group, you'll meet amazing LGBTQ plus women who come from all walks of life, yet have so much in common. Join the thousands of Olivians who travel to bucket list destinations all over the world. It's life-changing to be in the majority on your own vacation. Discover Olivia for yourself at olivia.com today.
Let's hang out.
There are many ways to entice a potential new customer with flashy branding and calculated marketing strategies. But at the end of the day, the success of a business comes down to the ability to close the sale. And for businesses like Thrive Cosmetics, Allbirds, or Skims, it's what goes on behind the scenes, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple that makes the difference. For them and for millions of businesses, that difference is made with Shopify. Businesses that want to grow with Shopify. Because if your goal is growth, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And Shopify will make sure you're ready. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And with Shop Pay, they boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. It's no wonder Shopify is home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/realm.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
You've maxed out your 401k, you're contributing to an IRA, and making some other investments. You're ahead of the game and doing well. But where do you go from here? The same old story can only get you so far. If you want a new take from a new type of financial professional, we invite you to get a fresh perspective beside an agent with the backing of New York Life. Insurance, investments, retirement, and more. Visit nyl.com to learn more. Investments are offered through registered representatives of NyLife Securities, LLC, member FINRA SIPC, a New York Life company.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
So one thing that I was just thinking about too when you were telling that story is the other thing that cracks me up is the difference in also the straight awareness. Because the other thing that I think is funny is the two coworkers that I spend a lot of time with in my office right now. They are both younger than I am. One of my coworkers is, I think she's like 8 years younger than I am, and the other one is like 12 years younger than I am. And so there's like some definite generational things,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, what I think is very funny is the difference that you can tell just in terms of general awareness of queer things in straight people versus for a long time, most of my coworkers have been older than I am, right? You're like a decade or two older. And the difference in terms of the level of
understanding
queer or queer adjacent conversations that you can have with people who are a decade older than me versus people who are a decade younger than me is stark. That is a stark difference, you know? Because it is, I just think there is, like, I mean, listen, I know we could talk about the absolute dumpster fire that is the world, and I know that I'm not going to say, like, everything's perfect and sunny and rainbows and sunshine and puppies. It's not that, sure. But there has, I still think, overall been a general trend that is positive with some dips. Notable dips, notable bad things happening. Yes, I'm not trying to wash over anything by saying this. I just feel like, in a general sense, in terms of what a difference it makes when straight people know about, understand basic things about queerness and queer
gender.
people and queer community and gender and identity and sexuality. Like, it is so different. It's so different. The conversations that you can have, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it does make a huge difference, you know?
Yes. And I think also it vastly depends on where you live, right? I'm like, me and you both live, like, I live in Boston.
Oh, sure.
You live in the Bay Area. Like we don't want to dive too much into the dumpster fire, but like, I do feel like it is worth talking about for a little bit of, like, it hasn't been that long. It's been 10 years. And now people are trying to take away gay marriage again. So it's like, there's also a big pushback on, like, which is so fucked up, which is why I'm like, it's not linear, is like, we felt a positive shift with the people around us, with, like, support for LGBTQ Americans. And then, like, the more and more we get supported, the more other people want to push us back down to not be supported. And that's fucked up. And I feel like it is worth talking about. But also, from a general, like, people around us kind of thing, yes, I do feel like, at least for me in Massachusetts, even in a place that, like, was liberal when I was growing up, we were the first state to legalize gay marriage. Like, I obviously, like, live in a place for most of my life where it was okay to be gay. It still has shifted. Like I was talking about, like, my cousin sitting at this dinner table talking to us about how, I don't even know, just, like, talking to us about how basically, like, all of her friends are bisexual. Like, which is, like, makes sense to me. It's hard to find a friend of mine that isn't straight. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks. But I do feel like there's a little bit of, like, a more of, like, a fluidity to sexuality in the younger generation, whereas, like, pretty much everyone's queer or gay. Like, and that's, and great.
Our name a straight person challenge remains.
It doesn't
for
exist.
every place. It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
But it is funny because it's like, even I was just thinking about stuff where, so we were reading with the girls before bed the other night, and they had gone to the library, and Kelsey had found this just a cute little book, and the book's called Neither. And it's about, the whole book is like, you know, welcome to the land of this and that. You can be this, they have birds, or you can be that, and they have bunnies, right? And so everything is sort of like, you can be this or that. You can be one or the other. You can be this way or that way, right? And then a little new friend gets born, and there's sort of like a little bird with, like, bunny ears, right? And there's this whole thing where it's like, they're not bird enough to be with the birds, they're not bunny enough to be with the bunnies. And so both sides kind of end up being like, you're neither, right? And they're, like, taunting this little bunny bird about being neither, and then neither runs away. and finds like an inclusive land where everyone's welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like reading this little book, and of course, you know, like it's me, I'm being mom, and I'm like, you know, girls, do you remember, because like we've read a lot of books with them about gender and stuff like that. I'm like, do you remember when we like read this book about gender, or when we talk about gender? Because we always talk to them about like some people, like some people are boys or girls, or some people are just kids, and like some people feel like boys one day and girls another day, like, right? And so, but I just thought it was very cute, because all I said is I was like, hey, like, do you remember when we read this book about gender, like, not that long ago? And Eloise immediately just goes, at our school, we have boys and girls, or neither or both. And I was like,
yes.
And I was like, yeah,
Right.
hun, that's true. And I was like, but the phrase like at our school, like that's what they learn at school right now. And like, granted, again, very liberal school in very liberal California, you know, like Berkeley, California, teaching them gender. Sure.
Yeah.
I get that is not the same education that someone in, you know, Mississippi might be getting at their public school these days. Fine. But I still think overall there's just a huge cultural shift. And I also think it's interesting because I think that it's not just the things that are happening, it's also the way in which queerness sort of constantly being a response to society, right, also changes the game on our side in some ways. Because it is interesting when you think about queerness. I mean, we talk about this a lot too, is queerness not just in terms of the sexuality, but as also some sort of like political identity, right? So queerness as this sort of rejection of norms, pushback against expectations and restrictions and things like that. And so as those change, also it opens up all these new ways for queerness to exist and what it can mean and what that looks like, you know. And I think, I mean, it's funny because I mean, I'm not I'm not the person who's here to talk about things like poly issues and stuff like that. But I do think it's interesting that when you just look at, like, we now live in a world where, like, it is nearly impossible for two adults to make enough to sustain a household, right? And then you look at the also climb in people suddenly being open to poly as an identity. This is a lifestyle choice that, like, I can make. Fuck your system. I don't care. Like, we'll make our own thing work, right? Like, I'm not saying that's where every poly person is coming from, is like trying to pay rent, but
no,
I don't
but there
think it's
are
not
but there are
a part
some
of the conversation.
funny memes about.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, poly
I'm
in
like,
this
what are you gonna do?
like,
Be monogamous
in this economy? Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny. But I think also, like, another thing that we, like, when I'm talking about, like, everything changes so quickly, there also have been, like, significant, like, technology has been insanely quick, right? So it's like, to know about, like, I know you're talking about, like, the genderbread person, right?
The genderbread man, Ellie.
But, like,
genderbread man.
But, like,
life-changing.
Yes. Well, genderbread person, because there's all kinds of different genders. And
yes, sure. But not at the time. He was the genderbread man.
Oh my God. And he has evolved into the genderbread person.
Yeah.
Just, like, the spread of information is so different, right? Like, when Auntie Meg was younger, the spread of information was like, you knew gay people because they literally lived near you.
Yeah.
Now, people are listening to our podcast all over the world. There are gay people everywhere who are like, I don't know anyone like me. And, like, in the 80s, they might have never come out.
Yeah.
Because they were like, no, I must be weird and different and strange and not right. Because, like, no one else I know is like this. And now, representation, right? Like, TV shows, movies, like, there's a million different ways you could, like, watch gay shit. And then also, I think, okay, the funnier thing, talking about our show, right? We talk about representation, right? Is, like, there'll be certain people, I mean, so the femmes, like, everyone spans various ages, right? So, like, when I talk to, like, certain people who are from, like, the ages of, I feel like, 28 to 35, they're like, oh my God, this web series, those lesbian YouTubers that I was watching, right? Like, there's, like, a very, like, every, like, subsect of people had different representation they were looking for and seeking.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, like bottoms, right? Oh, that like, but like, you know what I mean? Oh, that movie that was in a theater.
Yep.
There was like the progression of like indie gay shit to Blue is the Warmest Color to like The Favorite winning an
Bottoms.
Oscar to the
Yeah.
to Bottoms, right? Like
To bottoms.
there's so much more access to queer life, to queer experiences. And that's just movies. Like, I mean, if you just like pull up TikTok, that's why like so many people came out over the pandemic because they were like,
I want to watch this dyke chop wood.
I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it's not a dyke who lives next to them.
Nope.
Now they're just in the lesbian TikTok algorithm that told them they were gay. So like I feel like there's just like so many more avenues for people to see themselves.
Mm-hmm. Or hot lesbians.
Or hot lesbians and be like, huh.
Yeah. Huh.
But it is interesting to me because like, I don't know, me and you, Leigh, we have such different experiences from a lot of people in this world.
Yes. Oh, I know that. I don't want to represent ours as the experience of everyone our age. And I certainly know that's not the case. But I think that the differences that have come up over the course of our experiences, I still think there's been that change for everyone, regardless of where you are and what the situation has been. There's just, it's not, the world isn't the same now wherever you are. It's still not the same world that it was a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades ago. You know, like it's not, the world now is not what it was in the 80s. It's not, it's just, it's different. And I think, I don't know, I just think it's interesting as people where I think you and I and a lot of our listeners, our queer identity is a huge part of who we are. And it's always fascinating to me the ways in which that gets incorporated in a way where like that identity is constantly changing because queerness as a thing, as a concept, is constantly changing in a world that's constantly changing, you know? And I just think it's so interesting. It's so interesting the ways in which like we are able to adapt and evolve and grow with this kind of constantly changing definition of who we are as queer people in the world is so cool. It's so cool. Queer people are so cool. We're just the coolest. Why are we the fucking coolest, Ellie?
We really are the coolest. God damn it.
We are so cool. I just think it's so fascinating to me because I feel like it is a component of queer people's lives that is omnipresent that doesn't exist in the same way for straight people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I don't think there's this constant reimagining, readjusting, repositioning, reframing, like expanding and learning and doing all of this stuff about just a basic core part of all of their identities.
Yes, you are correct. There's a big growing component. Like, I think, like, individually, I mean, we're talking about, like, how is the world different? But, like, I think, yeah, when you sit in your own queerness for, I don't know, I've been out for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
What do those 10 years look like? Every year is so different.
Yep.
Like, it is a recontextualizing. I mean, and it's not linear, and, like, that's because it is impacted by the outside world, too, right? So I'm, like, I didn't feel as scared about my queerness last year.
Right.
And now I have to recontextualize that as well.
Yep. Yep.
Let me tell you something, Leigh. Bailey was texting me the other day because she's really freaking out about the fact that like in Michigan, they're like already pushing, and she's from Michigan. It's like, so a whole thing. But then she was like going through this whole spiral where she's like, you know, she was a political science major. And so she's like going back in history. Every time this comes, like any influential people who are queer, any influential people who are whatever, are going to get on a list, like a watch list. And she's like, you're going to get on a watch list. Like, I'm scared. She's like, you're such an influential gay. And I was like, I don't think they're going to put D-list to lesbians on the watch list.
They're coming first for Ellen, then for Ellie. That's the order. That's how it works.
But to be fair, it's like, I don't want to laugh about it because what if we are put on a watch list, Leigh? Like, actually.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure, Ellie. Don't worry about it. There's an AI somewhere that's flagging every episode of this show.
Legit. But like,
yeah.
But it is also like, I'm like, oh yeah, they wouldn't. And also like, there's a very real fear and danger being a public queer person now. And we are so public.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. We're going to continue to be public. But the context...
But it's not the same as it was when you started the band.
Yes. Like, the context is so different. And for me, it's like, yeah, of course, this is resistance. This is political, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not going to hide. But there's a fear that's there that wasn't there before. So, like, there was a fear when I first came out that was a different kind of fear than the fear I have now.
Yeah. Well, and another part of what I do think is interesting is I do think there's going to be this interesting shift that has to happen for the younger generation who hasn't really lived in that world.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, like we were just talking about, right? It's like, who doesn't remember a world where gay people couldn't get married? Who doesn't remember a world where the Stonewall riots happened? You know, like there's so much stuff where I think you and I even are sort of in this like bridge era between these two things, you know, of having come out in a time where there was still enough lingering trauma, hurt, rejection, you know, othering, things that remained out of legal grasp for us, that I think you had that context, but we also felt like we were sort of the generation climbing out of it.
Yeah,
right.
We felt like
we
knew things. Yeah, we knew things were changing positively.
Where you saw all of that, you knew about it, but we didn't like that wasn't really our experience, you know. But I think we came at a different time in terms of how recent it was. And so now I think you have, you know, and I don't think it's for the worse, but I do think that there is a younger generation now who has not really had the same experience of that queer identity, meaning the type of resistance and like possible danger and fear that it's going to probably for a bit right now, you know? But I don't know. I just like, I do think it's interesting. And I do think it's like another time that I was thinking about it recently is again, when I was at FemSlash, we watched a screening of a documentary that's coming out soon that I think we're gonna try to do like a dedicated episode on it too. Cause honestly, the documentary is great. It's called Love Me, Bait Me. And it's just all about, you know, queer representation in the media and sort of you know, tracking a lot of things and trends that we see. So, you know, they're covering like things like how the Hays Code impacted stuff, things like the bury your gays tropes and like all these things, and where do all of these movements come out of queer people and our response to media representation. But one of the things that I remember we were saying afterwards is that I think it's fascinating to me when you watch documentaries like that what I think is incredibly obvious for queer people is the way in which almost every queer person that you know of is more literate and competent at dissecting and analyzing and like how we interact with media because we have to be because we have to in a way that I just don't think straight people ever do. Like you never have to learn how to find yourself and find your stories and things where you're not actually there. You never have to learn how to read between the lines at coded characters. You never have to learn to see these patterns and, you know, try to figure out where they're coming from and why are they there and why does this keep happening and all of this stuff. And so it's just, there's a certain amount of like media literacy that I think is higher in queer people. And I think that by like the same stuff that we were just talking about in terms of like the response to the world, I think there's a certain amount of like literacy about identity and politics and like how all of these things are connected that I still think queer people have. Even the younger generation who is going to have a pretty drastic shift right now, I think, in what the experience of being gay is like. Like, I don't think they're not still steeped in those same types of...
they're aware of all those things. It's just like the direct impact they didn't feel as much. I mean, depending where you're from, too, right? Like, it's like...
yes.
Everyone has a different experience. But yeah, I think it's going to be a time right now. All right. Should we head into our Q and Gay? Anything else you want to talk about? All right. Q and Gay. Here we go.
Q and Gay.
Question number 1. What era did you come out in? A, 80s or earlier, B, 90s, C, 2000s, D, 2010s or later.
That would be the early aughts. Those hot aughts. Okay, Ellie, question 2. Are you aging gayfully? Yes or no?
Yes, always.
Incredible. Love that for us.
Question 3. Where did you learn about queerness in your coming out journey? A, word of mouth, B, books, C, the internet, or D, school?
Oh, gosh. I feel like it's going to be some combination of word of mouth and the internet. Probably also books. But I think primarily those two.
That sounds right.
The internet was really, I feel like it was peak...
Tumblr?
Peak internet times when I was coming out. It was a real time to be on the internets. Question 4, Ellie. How do you feel the overall trend of queer experience has been since you came out? A, overall positive, B, overall negative, or C, basically the same?
I want to say A, overall positive with a asterisk that's I'm scared.
Yeah. So real.
Yeah. Question number 5. What should someone who's never watched The L Word watch next? A, South of Nowhere, B, Buffy, C, Queer as Folk, or D, Carmilla?
Well, listen, my answer is going to be swayed by the fact that I refuse to believe anyone hasn't watched Buffy, so I therefore think everyone should experience South of Nowhere.
Honestly,
with us.
That shit
Suffer
hit.
with us.
That shit really hit.
Here's the thing. Bailey never watched The L Word. I feel like watching Bailey experiencing The L Word for the first time probably equally as funny as watching someone experience South of Nowhere for the first time. Just go on that journey that we all went on.
Really great
question
bisexual
why you're
representation.
there. Like we all questioned why we were there. Just really, really dig into that world. Dig deep.
So good.
Like we all did. Because I'm always curious, what would it be like? What would it be like to go back and watch South of Nowhere in the world that we live in now, as opposed to the world in which we were all like, yeah, this is good.
I know. Oh, what a time to be alive.
It had its time,
Really did. Wow. Age is wild. Aging is crazy.
Welcome to 33, Ellie.
We've experienced so much life. So much life. Remember, listeners, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Instagram at Lez Hang Out Pod.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you, and we love continuing to build this community, so we just want to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. I want to start with all of the comments that people left on the Queer Liberation Library episode. We had so many people commenting or messaging that they love it, that they have their cards, that they visit it, just how cool of an idea it was. And we just love that energy because, listen, it is cool. It's super great. We should all be supporting them. If you have not signed up for the Quill Library yet, you should definitely do it.
I also have a personal shout out to Tasha, who is a Lez Hang Out listener who came to the Femme show at the Lipstick Lounge last weekend and introduced herself to me. But the funniest thing about this, I feel like, is I was at the Femme show and she was like, I just want to tell you, I've been following you for a really long time. And my first instinct was like, oh, the band of the Femmes. She's like, no, you specifically.
You're a star, Ellie.
And I was like, oh, me, little old me. So thank you, Tasha, for making me feel like a celebrity.
You sure are.
Yeah, I really felt like a lesbian in that moment at the Lipstick Lounge in Nashville. So
and she needs that, Tasha. She needs that.
I need it. I do. Thank you.
As always, we also want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Lizette Stye,
Adi Benitez,
Sophia Phillips,
and Armani Gucci.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen.
And Andrea Doucette. Thank you all so much. We absolutely could not keep making this show without the support from our patrons, you, and all of our Patreon supporters. And we just really appreciate it.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok at Lez Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at lezhangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can check out our website at lezhangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up every week.
We also post videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/lezhangoutpod to catch them.
Lez Hang Out is an independently produced show. It's hosted by us. Our audio production is done by Ellie. Our production assistant is Kristen Murison. And various other podcasting shenanigans are done by me.
If you want to support the podcast, the easiest way to do that is to rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We love hearing what you have to say.
You can also join our Patreon. Again, Patreon is the best source of support for us. It's really what allows us to keep making this show. You get access to our Discord chat. You get access to all sorts of extra less extracurricular episodes. And you can join that at bit.ly/lespatreon.
If you want to get some Lez Hang Out merch, you can do that at our merch store, bit.ly/lesmerch. We got all kinds of stuff on there. It's getting to be a little warmer. We got some tank tops. It's time to get your pride gear, everyone. If you really want to show off how gay you are, we got you.
Remember, we also have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings. You can find us everywhere at $beanprod.
Or at our website, dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can listen to all of the episodes of our first 2 shows, The Flame and Journey to the Heart, anywhere you get podcasts.
And if you want to help support us in making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/$beanpatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at Alice H. Foster.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen, a reader, writer, liver, and breather of comic books.
And I'm Nat. I used to know absolutely nothing about comics, but now...
So actually, I've got a quiz for you.
I still have a lot to learn about comics.
Thank you. On Comic Sans, I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and the Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's...
Paneling, gutters, page turns, colorings, lettering, semiotics, juxtaposition.
Okay, Professor, save it for the episodes.
You can listen to Comic Sans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can binge our first 2 seasons. That's over 20 episodes on 20 different comics.
And we just launched Season 3, new episodes every 2 weeks.